Hi everyone, I hope you're well. I wanted to go over a couple questions from the homework that was assigned today, and then also talk about a couple additional solving using square roots for ones where they're in parentheses. So those were some of the questions I got. I wanted to go over it. So let's look at this first one. Whenever you're solving by undoing, you want to undo and you want to try to get whatever squared by itself to start, right? We only want the thing that's squared. So the thing that's squared is this whole thing in parentheses, right? So we need to get rid of that -8 on this side, so just the squared part's by itself. So I'm going to rewrite that question down here. So to get the squared thing by itself, I need to get rid of this 8, so I'm going to add 8, okay? So I have this. Okay, now that I have that squared thing by itself, I can square root this problem. And this problem's a little tricky for a couple reasons. So we're going to square root it. Now we have both positive and negative, the square root of 8. So for this problem, you needed to simplify this square root, this radical, and we have that square root 8, right? And to simplify that, we want to break it into a perfect square with a whatever else is multiplied to make that perfect square. So 8 is a product of the square root of 4 times the square root of 2, right? Square root of 4 is 2, so we get 2 plus or minus 2 radical 2. Now that we've undone the squared part, we want to get just x by itself. I'm going to take away 3 from both sides. So now I have negative 2x equals negative 3 plus or minus 2 radical 2. I want just x, so I'm going to divide everything by negative 2, okay? That leaves me with just x on the left side. A negative 3 over a negative 2 is positive 3/2, or 1.5. Then when I'm dividing here, when you're dividing something with a radical, you divide the numbers outside the radical here. We do not divide a number that's not under a radical with a number that is in a radical. So we would have plus or minus just radical 2, okay? So it looks like that. So that would be your answer. Maybe some of you guys got this answer. I typed that answer in when I was looking over the answers, just going over it, and it marked me wrong. It was saying that the answer is this, right? Didn't actually simplify that. I think this is a better answer up here, but that's how the answer key was giving it, although this is a better answer in terms of it's more simplified, okay? So this is definitely a challenging one. I'm not going to give you a question like that challenging on your test. You do need to be able to simplify where there are parentheses, but I'd say maybe something kind of this style would be the type of stuff you'd see on your test. So let's work through these couple problems too, just some additional practice, okay? So again, we want just the parentheses or just the squared part by itself. So I'm going to add 3 to both sides, okay, and I get x plus 5 squared equals 5. So now I've gotten just the part that's squared on one side, the 5 on the other. We square root both sides. So I have x plus 5 equals plus or minus the square root of 5, okay? Subtract 5, so I get x equals negative 5 plus or minus the square root of 5. We can't combine those at all. One's under a radical, one's not. So you can't simplify it any more than this. This is your final answer. We can't simplify this radical 5 here at all because it's a prime number. It doesn't break in to any perfect squares, so we just have to leave it like that if it asks for it to be left in radical form, okay? Let's try another one. So again, we want to get just this by itself, right? Just the part that's squared. So I'm going to subtract 4 to start. So I have 3 parentheses x minus 2 squared equals 12. Again, I want just the part that's squared here. So I'm going to divide everything by 3. So I have x minus 2 squared equals 4, right? Square root both sides now that we have just the squared part by itself. This one's nice. 4 is a perfect square, so when we square root it, we have x minus 2 equals plus or minus 2, right? But square root of 4 is 2, and we put the plus and minus out front, so then we'd add 2. So when simplifying this, right, we're going to do 2 plus 2 and negative 2 plus 2, right? So we get 4 and 0. So x equals 4 and x equals 0. Awesome. So hopefully that helps a little bit, just going over a few more examples. Like I said, these type of examples would be a little more like what you could expect versus the first one, a little trickier. I'm not going to ask you to actually simplify the radical like you had to there. You might have to just leave it as a square root, but not actually go as far as simplifying. Okay, let's try this last one. This one wants you to leave your answer as a decimal rounded, so that probably feels a little more natural to you guys. We want to simplify. Well, these are both x squareds, so we can combine those and we get 5x squared equals 35. Now that I have that just as a single term, I want just the x squared by itself, so I'm going to divide by 5, and I get x squared equals 7. And I'd square root both sides, right? Now it said round to the hundredth, so when I plug that in my calculator, I get 2.65. Remember, we're going to have 2 solutions, so also negative 2.65. Cool. Well, I hope you guys are well, enjoying some rainy weather. Good excuse to stay inside. And I'll talk to you soon. Keep the questions coming. It's one, good to hear from you. I'm happy to answer questions. This is a tough unit for sure, so don't be shy about asking questions. All right, bye.